We're supporting Hearts and Homes for Refugees, trying to raise $7,500 for this season. And I think we're close to or already at 2,000. So we've done well so far. But Kathie is the director of HHR. I think you have one of these in your, did you all get these? This gives info, but Kathie, come up and say your words, because you will do far better than I will talking about your wonderful organization and what they do.
Good morning, everyone. And on behalf of Hearts and Homes for Refugees, the staff and the team right across the driveway over there, Hearts and Homes volunteers and board members, it's an honor to be here and to have this privilege and opportunity in person to say thank you. I'd especially like to thank Father Matt for his leadership and his commitment to Christ Church and the Episcopal Church's mission to strive for justice and peace among all people and respect the dignity of every human being. Christ Church has been an early friend, partner, and first landlord to Hearts and Homes. Your community has been exemplary stewards of welcoming the stranger. And because Pelham has been my home for 40 years, I see some familiar faces here, and I know you as neighbors. But I also have had the added privilege of working with many of you and other members of Christ Church as Hearts and Homes volunteers, those we call the helpers, the doers, like JD, Carla, Walter, Evan, and board member extraordinaire, hello Melissa, and many other supporters of HHR from this parish. In the last 3 years, across the country, Americans in 12,000 zip codes have stepped up to welcome refugees from 50 states. Here in Westchester, Hearts and Homes for Refugees has been leading that charge for 9 years, ensuring that newcomers find not only safety, but also a true home. So how did this start? I'm sure you'll remember in 2015 the images of a 3-year-old Syrian boy named Alan Kurdi, whose body washed up on a Turkish beach as his family fled the war in a small boat from Syria. And his death brought worldwide attention to the risks faced by refugees and the urgent need for legal, safe, and humane pathways to protection. It also inspired local compassion to action. Welcome the Stranger was not new to me. I drew on my own family's experience when in the 70s in our local parish in Louisville, Kentucky, joined with other faith communities around the country in the 70s to welcome Vietnamese refugees. We came together to resettle Phuc and Marie Nguyen and their 5 children. Today, they remain friends of our family. Many years later, sitting around my kitchen table here in Pelham with friends and neighbors, I knew there was a local solution to the global refugee crisis right here in our backyard, a resource-rich, volunteer-rich potential. People of goodwill were looking for opportunities, and community sponsorship was a new model of private citizen support for resettling refugees. Community sponsorship is the foundation of Hearts and Homes' groundbreaking work. We have inspired, educated, and equipped thousands of volunteers and community groups in the lower Hudson Valley to resettle, assist, and advocate for refugees who arrive here with documentation and employment authorization. We find and furnish housing, school enrollment, job applications, language support, navigating healthcare, and so much more. We remind our volunteers that during orientation, that community sponsorship is designed to be a leg up, not a forever support system. Through this highly effective model, we empower new neighbors to be self-sufficient as soon as possible. While most are self-sufficient within 3 to 6 months, we are there for up to 1 year, wrapping our arms of support as needed, and in many cases, as friends and neighbors. So here's some numbers. I'm going to get through them quickly because the real important thing is the story about our work, behind our work. Since 2016, we've resettled 193 refugees and assisted more than 3,700 individuals in rebuilding their lives. Our new neighbors come from 18 different countries and mostly from Afghanistan and Ukraine. In the last 3 years, our strong network of volunteers-driven programs have reached 1,100 new neighbors. HHR volunteers and staff work tirelessly to resettle about 160 Afghan refugees and assist 350 more. In many of those were those who risked their lives in support of U.S. missions abroad, working with our troops, protecting them, putting their own lives at risk. And under a national government and privately sponsored program known as Welcome Corps, it's only 3 years old, we were able to mobilize and mentored 54 community-sponsored groups. In 2024, Welcome Corps sponsors resettled 116 individuals, and we were on track to welcome 121 more this year before the administration terminated this program. So enough with the numbers. I want to tell you a couple of stories. 2 weeks ago, we welcomed a young Afghan woman who had nearly completed medical school before the Taliban regained control. She and her mother, without a male guardian, were in grave danger in Afghanistan. They had, and through our network and our advocacy, we helped to bring them to safety and reunite them with family they hadn't seen in 8 years. It's been a beautiful reunion. They'll move into their apartment that HHR secured and furnished, and will immediately begin language and employment support. This is what welcome looks like. And then there are these two lovely young men from Venezuela who came here in January of 2024. HHR helped them find jobs quickly, and the brothers were financially self-sufficient within 3 to 4 months of arriving in New York. I can't tell you how hardworking these young men are. They are willing to put in 60 to 70 hours working at 2 different jobs each. One brother works long hours at 2 different supermarkets, while the other has already been promoted to a better position at the assisted care living home where he works. They're working hard to build credit. They have a dream of owning their own home soon, and they are already saving for retirement with a 401k plan at work. They are keenly focused on keeping their living costs down in New York, and they are really thrifty, so they can send money back to their families. And in less than a year, they were able to save enough money to buy a home for their parents in Venezuela. When given the opportunity, our new neighbors like to pay it forward. Last Friday night, a few of our Afghan SIV resettled refugees helped volunteers move a new client into his new room. He was surprised and delighted to learn that he didn't have to share this room in a building where we had already placed several other refugees. And speaking of volunteers, more numbers, but they're important. Our work is powered by 600 dedicated volunteers, 100 of whom joined us just last year. We have 7 active volunteer committees working on employment, language, housing, transportation, and more. And last year alone, 54 private sponsor groups stepped forward through Welcome Corps to support refugees in their first crucial months. And yet, today, in spite of the incredible success of community sponsorship and the fact that private citizens have transformed the U.S. refugee resettlement program and responsibly settled 100,000 refugees in the past year, and that's more refugees than in the previous 30 years, the future is uncertain. Policy shifts and funding cuts threaten communities' ability to continue welcoming refugees. Refugees who've already been vetted and approved for resettlement here are no longer arriving. Thousands of families in the pipeline no longer have any hope for resettlement. This is after years of going through the process. And we've heard there will likely be another refugee ban from more countries than in the previous refugee ban in 2016. So the only remaining window at this moment is a program called Enduring Welcome, and this is the program that resettles our wartime allies from Afghanistan. HHR has welcomed 6 cases of these allies and their families in recent weeks, and we're expecting another new arrival on Monday. These families are among the thousands of Afghan allies who were issued special visas because the U.S. promised to protect them when they risked their lives to support our troops. It's also reported that this program will end, and with it, a failure of the U.S. to keep its promise not only to our Afghan allies, but to the veterans whose lives were protected during wartime. Hearts and Homes will continue to welcome refugees for as long as we can. We are not expecting the traditional funding support from resettlement agencies because they have been closed, they have shuttered, they are putting employees on furlough. We need community support now more than ever for this humanitarian crisis, and what I would call a moral failing in this country. Hearts and Homes is very appreciative for your Easter appeal, and we want you to know that donations will directly support the families we welcome with these essential services. Initial housing costs, food costs, grocery gift cards that HHR purchases and turns over to clients until they have support for SNAP or other services, or until they're employed and able to feed themselves and their families. Together, with your donations and your continued support, we can ensure that when a refugee family arrives in our community, they are not alone, but they're surrounded by love, compassion, and the practical support that empowers them to rebuild their lives with hope and dignity. So this Easter season, as we reflect on hope, renewal, and love in action, thank you on behalf of the staff, the board, and hundreds of volunteers and supporters for always being an early and long-standing partner. Thank you for living your faith, for walking with us, and for leading others. And thank you for choosing welcome. And I promise that's the end. We're not having another verse, and we're not having another very good sermon. Thank you all very much.